Well, hello there and welcome to another episode of Back to the Clubs with me, Major K. I'm a DJ, producer and record label owner, and in this series I'm talking to other DJs about their club experiences. What was their first club gig like? Which other DJ blew them away during a gig? And what never asks a question but gets answered all the time? The answer to that is your cell phone. The answers to the other questions are often surprising. Previous guests this season include Byman, Nico Parisi, and last week, Cynthia Laclay. Today, it's Mr. Lady. Before we introduce her, be sure to subscribe to Back to the Clubs in your podcast app. Give the show a raving rating too. It helps more people find the podcast. In your podcast app, you can also find my weekly mix podcast, Flash Forward Presents with Major K. And @official Major K is my handle on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and TikTok. And now, Mr. Lady. First name, Jackie. Not Jackie Mr. Lady, of course, but you get the point. She's a DJ and producer from the United States and lives in LA. She makes banging techno, but makes a point to deliver great melodies as well. Apart from her club experiences, she provides a great insight in how different the club scene in the States is compared to, for instance, Europe, as it is mainly non-existent over there, bar a couple of examples. So an episode with some good insights in that respect as well. Enjoy the show. Here we go.
Back to the Clubs with Major K.
Yeah, and this time in Back to the Clubs, it's our special guest all the way from LA, Mr. Lady. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here. I haven't done a podcast in a couple of years, actually.
Okay, so are you nervous then, or...?
No, I'm
You're good. Okay, that's fine, because there's no necessity in being nervous or whatever. That's just fine. We're just gonna have a really good chat, even if it's like thousands of miles apart. We can do this, and we have done that before as well, because this isn't the first time that we are meeting virtual, right?
True that. The wonders of modern internet technology.
Yeah. So just setting the stage there, you're in LA at this moment. Have you always lived in LA?
No. Well, back in the day I did. And then I thought in the 2010s that we were going to become British, but then Brexit happened. So here I am back in what is not my hometown of Los Angeles, but as John Lennon said, I may be from Liverpool, but I grew up in Hamburg. I say I may be from Chicago, but I grew up in Los Angeles. Okay. So here I am back in Los Angeles.
So you're from Chicago, and the move to Los Angeles was because of the weather and less wind, or?
Uni.
University, okay.
It's funny because everybody says that to me. Even my mother was like, I know all you can think about is the sun and the fun. And I was like, no, I don't want to. This is where the university is. I can't.
And what did you do then to choose that specific university?
Because I studied animation. And back then, that was where you went for it. That was before the era of the boot camp.
Yeah. And
how things have changed. But
a lot, I guess. Yeah. But still, it is a bit Toontown over there, no?
It wishes it was. It was up until about the Great Recession of 2009, and then all of the animation industry swiftly and promptly left California. Well, there's still like a gaming industry here, the bare bits of it. So good for gaming. I always worked in features, so that wasn't really my arena. But anyway, the blessing was that I got to travel and I got to live in other countries because of work, which now that I look back on it, I wouldn't trade that for a thing. I never waited to Singapore, though. I almost did. So I was in London, and then I was in Vancouver for a while. I thought I was going to go to Singapore, but I never made it. So
Still on the bucket list.
not for working.
Yeah, just for perhaps DJing. Because who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? That's
there's
true.
some clubs over there. I bet there are. So it's always a possibility. You never know. And with that, we come to really the subject of our podcast. It's clubs and it's music. So you grew up in Chicago, and when did you get blessed with that musical spirit of yours?
The legend has it that my mom went to the Disco Sucks rally when she was pregnant with me, and history books say that's the birth of house music. Yeah. So I don't know with that nomen. No, I was always a drummer when I was in school. I was on drumline until uni, actually. And after the first year of it, or throughout the first year of it, it's a 40-hour-a-week commitment. Ooh. And I wanted other opportunities in life, so I put it down. And then I put music down totally. And that was the beginning of the visual adventure part of my life. And then animation got what I would say to be toxic, and the industry of animation, to me, the work environment overall, I would call it toxic. But I do think a lot of people would say that about their respective industry in the 2010s. Yeah. So I had cultural problems back in, let's rewind back to 2016, and my husband just said to me point blank one night after I was finished with a contract, please don't do this work anymore. It's not worth it for our life. Don't do this work. So, I worked freelance up until the pandemic. NFTs swiftly killed my freelance illustration work. Oh. Totally okay. At the time, this is 2019, as any artist can relate to, you need to evolve as an artist. And I was really feeling in the 2018, 2019, sorry, I think I just said 2009. Go back to 2018, 2019, I was really feeling, you know what? I'd like to get back into music. I'd really like to have, I miss that. That at this point feeds me more than visual art does. And at the same time, I had about a decade or so of experience of long hours working in computer labs with music playing. So, and I found over time, not having a visual element is refreshing
freeing,
to me, because I used to do it for work. Yes. Yeah. So, I went to music school.
Okay.
Catalyst Berlin. And then the pandemic came in the middle of it, and I said, absolutely not. I am not doing online school. And then I took a deep breath and did it. And then during the pandemic, I got a certificate at Berklee College of Music as well, online, so all online. So here I am today. And we came back to California in 2020, and I knew things were, it's a totally different electronic music club, dance music is a totally different universe here in America. Okay, so I knew that things are going to be different. I didn't know how, but they were, and things have been different here. As everybody's life was a bit different a couple of years ago, but coming out of the pandemic, we hustled hard. That is my husband and I, does my production, and he does like background stuff, behind stuff for me, whatever you want to call that. So we both hustled hard and networked hard, and for what you can do with it, we have a little bit of I have a little bit of a movement now. So I was just thinking about this last night because I had a gig at a new, who knows what's going to happen with dance music. I don't know. I'm not as optimistic. I remember going to Amsterdam Dance Event.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks there's going to be like a magic. Where's the money in the world today with anything? Everyone thinks that things are going to like resurrect a little bit. And I'm not sure I feel that way, but whatever, for what it is, I feel like almost like being a DJ here. Understandably, it feels like in a way, it's almost post-apocalyptic. just because that's how much everything is struggling. That's how much nightlife is struggling around the world, I think.
Sure.
That's how, because it's clearly like that in London. And that's how much the music industry is struggling. And there's a lot of noise, as my husband puts it. There are a lot of people that I don't really understand what they're trying to do or why they're doing this. So everyone I meet at my gigs, even at the venues, through Instagram, whatever, you kind of talk to 10 people where you're like, can you clarify that you're that you're a musician? Like, I don't understand this. And then you find the one person who's actually really passionate about dance music.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll take that. That's like similar to economics, where if you have a store or you have a shop, a brick and mortar, online shop, whatever you want to call it, if 10% of the people you advertise to
for sure,
are like a relevant connection or a customer, that's doing great. So I guess by that model, I'm doing great.
Well, and you dare to try stuff, and that's important too, to see what can happen with the music and the vision on music that you have, because I can imagine that, as you said, there's, wherever you go in the world, perhaps there's dance music, but the vision on dance music is different from Europe to LA. What you make is more techno-inspired dance music. Is that something that LA is ready for, or do they like the idea that people have is the States, it's mainly hip hop, R&B and stuff like that? Is that still the case, or are you that movement that you talked about, is that the introduction of techno in like LA style?
It's absolutely the former. As I understand, I get why. My country is the home of rock and roll. We are the home of Elvis Presley. We are the home of blues music, the root of rock and roll music, and the conception of the rock idol on television in the TV generation. That was all what my country developed. And unfortunately, us human beings are very nationalistic, and what's familiar is comforting to us. And so hip hop, I wish rock music was still a thing, but I can't say it is. I wish there were bands making rock and metal that were available to follow today that weren't baby boomers. But I don't think rock music isn't a thing. I miss it, and I hope it comes back, but let's keep it on hip-hop, because hip-hop is king, and I respect that. I understand that. Hip-hop is wonderful music, but that's what people find, that's what's comfortable to people in America. That's what people want to hear. And time and again, the like 90% of people I deal with are people who are just making a mess up there on the stage because they're trying to put what I would call really abrasive hip hop into music and then into dance music, and then the 90% of people in the crowd that don't care what the music sounds like, but when they hear their idol performing in the song, that's what they want to hear. People don't want to dance in my country. That's another thing. We're very what is prudent, Protestant, I can't think of the word. We have very fundamentalist religious roots in this country, and prohibition still has ripple effects in our culture. There's a huge stigma about all kinds of nightlife because of prohibition. We have very religious, strict roots in this country, and because of that, we're not really a dancing culture. We are a culture where people want to be that rock idol, and that means that they want to perform, they want to dance magnificently so an audience can watch them, but we're not a culture that appreciates just dancing so nobody's watching, because everyone we don't appreciate just how it feels to dance in this country, which is totally okay. It's just not in our culture. Anyway.
So there was a dance music movement in Detroit with Detroit techno, but that's then more the exception to the rule then?
I would think so. And the same thing about Chicago, because I've had a few gigs in Chicago, and we go to Movement in Detroit every year as well. And I was talking to a few artists this past year, and it's funny. The guy was a really big, well-connected, promoter, I would call him, and he was great. You know, we had a drink together. He just wanted to network with me. Okay, and tell me about what his life was like. He was standing there in Detroit saying to me, "Oh gosh, I kind of want to move to LA because I can't. There are no opportunities. There's no scene here." And I was like, "Really?" Now, granted, like. We went to a few great parties. They were really liberating after parties. It was great. And Movement itself is a wonderful. So it's a fabulous music festival. We have so much fun there. And I'm talking about quality of music. What the promoter said to me was, "Yeah, this is this weekend. Come here any of the other 51 weekends a year. This isn't here. This is only this week." So I do believe it exists. It just exists one weekend a year. That was my read of Detroit, and we've been here. We've been there a couple of years in a row now.
Okay.
And same thing about Chicago too. There is like one ride or die venue that I played at one back. It was like a year ago. I opened for Stefan Jolk there.
Okay.
And those people were, it was at Spy Bar Chicago, and those people were great. Yeah. They have, the people who worked there were nice. The equipment was, they gave me a V10 mixer. And the sound system was great, and the crowd was great. But same thing, they're like, "Yeah, we're here. Anyway, this is it in Chicago. This is what," and I know Chicago has ArcFest too. And you know what? There's no shame. There really isn't, or no shade, no ill intentions on my part to like the tech house, big room, mainstream crowd, like what it was. Fisher did shut down Hollywood Boulevard a couple weekends ago in Chicago, in LA, and did this giant thing. I have no lack of love towards those folks. Whatever kind of music it is, if you've got 80,000 people in your venue, if I enjoy dancing to your music, a person gets a thumbs up from me. If I don't feel like bitter or intimidated. It doesn't matter because I completely understand what it is. Dance music is it's a niche audience, and that's more general. That's more all audiences. Music.
So I guess the advice that you would give to people, perhaps producers or DJs from Europe, it's always the dream. Oh yeah, let's tour in America or let's play in America. Well, perhaps just don't, because there's not that much opportunity, and there's too much people that want that kind of gig. So it's really difficult to set foot on land than perhaps over there. Yes,
and then also you're not. I mean, if you want to do it as a passion project and you just want to go and not get paid, you'll probably have more luck. Yeah. But there's definitely no money to be made doing it. Totally okay. That's what it is.
So just visit Chicago and introduce yourself to the Spy Bar and say, "Well, I can do an all-nighter for free if you want to. I'm here anyway." Yeah. So, and perhaps that can be a good experience anyhow. It's an idea. Yeah. I'm going to think about that.
I was at ADE in 2022, and there was a huge panel called "Making It in America: The Guide to Being Successful in America." And I didn't go to it because there are other things that were a priority of mine, but that always resonated with me. I would have loved to have known
what they were talking about, because
what do they actually say to people?
And then you can tell as an American yourself if it's a wind up or not.
Yes, and if it's dated information,
Yeah. In Back to the Clubs, I always ask the same questions to our guests every week, and one of those questions is what the first club is that you went to. I guess that might not be in the States, or was it in the States? You ever went to, not as a DJ, just like as a party goer? Because, you say the party life is a little bit different over there. So perhaps the first experience in a club was in Europe or somewhere else. I don't know.
It's not still there, but it would have been Crowbar Chicago.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's so cute. Yeah. But the Killer Bee, B96, was the radio station that played dance music. So it was all overnight DJs from B96 played
Right.
there. But it's that was a parallel line with freestyle music in Chicago. It was a lot of freestyle crossover.
And what kind of club? What kind of club was that? Crowbar.
It was, dare I say it, a full-on nightclub. That's a very rare occurrence in Los Angeles because we don't really have. I could count on one hand the clubs in Los Angeles because our culture here in the city has the Rodney King riots of the 90s, which changed our nightlife culture. Anyway, but Chicago doesn't have that, and have that situation. But Crowbar, full-on nightclub, a lot like old dance music. What I can just find today as best described as classic rave music, but also with a lot of freestyle dance crossover music. The two kind of went hand in hand. Yeah. That's the first legal club because I went to a lot of,
which is a cool experience and has been cool experiences as well, I guess. All right, so that's the first club that you visited as just a dancer, let me say, or just as someone who wants to go clubbing. What was the first club that you got your gig in then? First gig?
Egg London. Yeah. Egg London, and the fire alarm went off.
Oh no! No way!
While I was playing, and I get done, and everyone's like freaked out, and I was like, "Oh my god, was it that bad?" No, the goddamn fire alarm went off. You can't make this stuff up.
And did you stop the set then, or what did you do? Yeah,
it improperly went off because someone pulled it.
Right.
So they had to scramble to get to stop it. So the fire department wouldn't show up and fine them for the occurrence, if that makes sense. So everyone was running around trying to do that.
Yeah. And so how far along were you in your set?
I was probably like 35 minutes into an hour, and it was like the last 25 minutes that was all like the hullabaloo of everyone trying to get the fire, do whatever you have to do to turn off a fire alarm. I don't want to know. I don't know. And then everyone was just like, by like probably about 5 minutes, the last 5 minutes of my performance.
Okay, that's not everyone can tell that story. That's for sure. So that's always a good one. You've been to a couple of clubs in the meantime. Is there something that you really look for in a club? What does it need to be a good one to excel? Oh,
have a great sound system. It's refreshing. And I took that for granted. By great sound system, I mean not distorted, appropriate for the space, tuned with a sound guy, with an audio and tuned via an audio engineer, levels managed. I ran into that last night even. My husband was like, the levels were kind of nah, but there was no sound guy. And when you're up there, you don't know. Anyway, so to have a good sound system that sounds clear and is appropriate for the space, I took that for granted when living in London, because even the crappiest places, there's some attention to that. But here in LA, man, there are venues where, anyway, things are distorted. People don't care about that here. People don't care about it, or they don't know what it is enough to know that they should care about it, if that makes sense.
They think it's just the music, all the distortion and stuff.
Yeah, they're like, oh, this sounds great. I can't hear shit. I love it. It's nice to have booth monitors, too. I got so used to playing with no booth monitors that I figured out a way to play without them, or I got used to playing without them. The way that I just have all cues going at all times, and the way that I have my headphones half on, and then the way that I have the headphone cue divided. And I just got used to processing what am I hearing in one ear versus what am I putting into it, to the point where I'll have gigs and someone will walk up in the middle of my set and be like, don't you want the booth monitors on? And then I'm like, oh, and then I get really embarrassed because I just got used to not using them. It's kind of like... that
you almost consider the booth monitor as to be, that's a nice decoration.
Yeah, Yeah. Ooh, what's this? Another speaker. Yeah. I'm trying to. Yeah. Anyway, so that's nice, but that's really aiming low. But yeah, I would say a good sound system is really important. And nice ownership too. You can meet some really, really nice people, and I appreciate that.
If you're welcomed well, and it sets you up for a good set, I think. Another question that we ask all our guests is there a DJ set that you remember that kind of blew you away? So you saw this guy or girl play in a club and you thought, well, this is really awesome, this is so inspiring, this is fantastic.
Yeah. Recently, Klangkünstler at Movement, and that's straight up hard techno, more than 140 BPM. Okay, that music to me is just a derivative. It's a means to an end, but I don't know. He found the contrast in it. It was phenomenal. Aphex Twin at Coachella 2019, and I know he toured with that performance, but that was incroyable.
Yeah. Was it a live performance or was it a DJ set? FX Twin DJ set, yeah.
That was a DJ set. He had all his music, but it was a DJ set. He had someone with him doing live motion graphics. Okay, I understand. But yeah, it was a DJ set. Oh, when I was at, just one last one, I was at Stand and Calling 2017, and Phil and Paul from Orbital did a DJ set, like at a secret stage behind it. Stand and Calling is a weekend camp sleepaway festival. Okay. So anyway, but it was there were probably like 30 people there. It was after their big stage performance. There were like 30 people there, and they were just messing around, and just the joy that the both of them get from making their music. You can feel that in their live music. So of course, when they did a DJ set, that was fantastic.
Yeah. And that's what you need to have, if you're performing, first and foremost, it should be fun for you as well. And then you can really translate that to what you do for the audience on the dance floor. Same question, but about yourself. Is there a set that you fondly remember that you think, well, in the kind of short period that you're DJing, because we're talking about like 3 years, something like that?
I started in 2017.
So 6 years, 7 years coming. Is there a set that you remember and you think, well, yeah, this was just right. This was, all the elements were there. I had the time of my life. The audience had the time of their lives. Something that can fit that description.
Yeah. I did an after hours in July of this year, and it was a truck yard. Like a space where you park like 18-wheeler lorries. And they moved a bunch of them out of the way and had this outdoor after hours. And it was amazing because the reverb off of the trucks was just epic. I felt like I was playing at like Sonar Fest or something just because of the outdoor space. It was awesome. And I got punked on part of the equipment, which, as you know, happens often. Mm-hmm. They'll tell you, oh yeah, you have 3 or 4 controllers, and then you get there and you have 2. Yeah, okay, that's always exciting when you've prepared for a lot more gear, and then when you see your setup 5 minutes before you're gone, you're like, okay, I could do this. But what happens, and that happened to me last night as well. But what happens when you don't have all the gear you've prepared for, you just have to hustle harder to make it work with 2 controllers. And you're a lot more creative because the instantaneous problem solving, it's just a lot more interesting. Mm-hmm. Those are the times with DJing when I'm actually happy with. No, I mean I always enjoy it, but those are the times when I really, really enjoy it. When it's impromptu and I have to think fast, and I have an idea in my head of what my set list is, what I'm going for, but I have to solve it with less gear. It always comes out so much more creative, and that was what I did at this venue. And I followed someone who was playing open format. It's always interesting when you no matter, that's the other thing, no matter what the format of the evening is, what they tell you to bring often doesn't match what the person before you decides to play. And okay, I get it. I understand. People like open format music. I get it, especially in this country. Yeah. But the person before me was playing open format music. So what do you follow with that? You know, so I always get a bit nervous when it's something like that. So here I go. I start playing. I debuted 2 songs off of my new album that night. One of them was just an unmastered demo at that point. I had one of my other songs that's been my single that's followed me, and I did, because I didn't have the equipment I needed, I did this like 10 minutes of looping improvisation, and that's just what this is about. This is an improvisational art form, and I just wish more people understood that. But it doesn't matter. But I understand that, and that's what it was, and it was just an excellent night. Yeah. It was just an excellent night.
Well, that's a good memory to have, and hopefully more to come of that kind of gigs, where you can really feel you kind of need to challenge yourself because of the elements, right? Because of what you have in front of you and what you need to do to get your ideas across then as a DJ, I think. Is there a club that you went to the most up until now, that you visited the most, not, perhaps as a DJ, perhaps as just a party goer?
Printworks, RIP, and Fabric.
And Printworks, that was, remind me.
Oh, Printworks was in East London. It closed down, I think, last fall. And the last time I went was March 14th, 2020. It was like the last Saturday night before London closed down all the nightlife, as the whole world was doing. But yeah, Printworks has since closed. And then Fabric, the sound system there and the programming there. I really wish we had something like Fabric in the United States, but we don't.
Yeah, Fabric is really awesome, and it had its challenges as well, being closed down for a little while, I think, because of like that Fabric, and but they're back in business as far as I know. So I'm going to London in the future. That's one of my stops for sure, to see what's happening over there. Is there, when you think about it, or when you talk to other DJs about clubs, if you do, I don't know, is there a club that they mention or that you feel is being considered as being the best in the world?
Everybody talks about Berghain.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't
that's
get
right,
it.
Isn't it?
I used to live down the street. I don't get the waiting in line. And it's like, I'm pretty sure none of the other 3,000 people in line know who Floating Points is. I'm pretty sure. And yet you wait in the merciless line for it. And then it might be to no avail. But whereas in London, the Floating Points will come to London, and all you have to do is buy a ticket for 20 quid and go in, and you don't have to wait.
Yeah, perhaps that Berghain is more like, the line is the experience as well. Been there, did that. I don't know. You know? Oh yeah.
But it's not. I'm none. That's not waiting in line, holding my pee while drinking a 40-ounce of beer is not a fun experience. No. I get it. I've had many heated arguments about this. But yeah, that's what I think. But that's what everybody in America hears about Berghain. So it's very much a place of international mystery.
I didn't hear that description before, but perhaps it fits really well. It's something that's been talked about by a lot of people. That's for sure. So yeah, it's better than not to be talked about, and perhaps it can be a little bit of a poster club for clubbing if like people in the States get interested into clubbing, that's why they got to know about clubbing as we know it in Europe. You never know what can happen then.
I actually I don't know. When I left Berlin, when they were closing the borders back in 2020 to go back to London, I was like, I don't ever want to come back here. But now I really miss it. It's all a lot more credible to me now that it's been so many years since I've been there. Meaning, like, I used to live around the corner from the Kit Kat Club. the old location of whatever. But yeah, Berghain, all things considered, I used to have such a negative response when other Americans, oh, how did you like Berlin? Don't get me started. But no. Now it has a place in my heart. And the interest in Berlin is very, very real here.
Yeah, it really is palpable, and it's been seen. It's a gritty city, but of course a big history behind it. But it's a place where a lot of artists, DJs, producers, well, they tend to aspire to go there and hang out and feel the grittiness, and then perhaps let the grittiness of the city seep into their music as well. Especially techno-wise, I think it's one of the capitals, apart from Antwerp in Belgium, of course, because that's big on techno, and as is Ghent. But Berlin, it's a few leagues above that, I think.
It's all those fleas from all the people's dogs in Buxtegener Platz that bite you when you're having a beer in the afternoon. It makes it extra elevated, doesn't it? It's just a little seasoning.
Yeah, a little seasoning. Yeah, let's call it that then. Yeah. Do you still count the number of clubs that you've played in, or have you lost count by now?
I hate that because every time I update my EPK, I'm like, this is so stupid. I don't know, probably like 20. If I'm being very inclusive as to what people consider a club, yeah, I'd say about 20.
Okay, so 20, that's a lot, but that's not a lot. That's a bit of both, right? So I don't know, do you have a club bucket list? So, like, is there one club, for instance, that has your top spot on that bucket list that you really want to play at that you haven't played before?
Oh, I would love to play the Yuma stage at Coachella. I'm counting.
You count festivals as well, then. And if you make abstraction of that, no festivals allowed, where would you want to play that you haven't before?
Fabric. Yeah. Fabric, I think.
Yeah, I think that must be an awesome one. Let's think about that. It must be possible. I do know a guy who knows a guy who knows this guy who. So you never know what's possible.
That's sweet. 6 degrees of separation. We're all connected.
Something like that. You never know that it works, but yeah. And then we can send this episode with this fragment of this episode, and then who knows? That's my take on the music, because you said I don't know what it's gonna be, and dance music and whatever. I always try to be optimistic and try to have opportunities and see opportunities, even if, of course, you know that not all your dreams can come true. But Fabric, it's duly noted. For you right now, Mr. Lady. We didn't call you by your real name, so it's Mr. Lady, but it's Jackie, right? So for you right now, Jackie, at the end of the interview, her name is there. What can people expect of you, music-wise, gig-wise? What are you busy with?
I have a new album coming out beginning of the year, riding on the wave of my one that just came out now is doing fairly well. And I just started working with a few new promoters in Southern California and LA and everything outspread. So you can expect to see me around a few more places in Southern California. As always, I like to, when I can travel for gigs, I try to do that as well. So I'm looking forward to having a few more gigs in other places in 2024.
Okay.
It's been a bit,
well, fingers crossed. Aiming to that.
Thanks.
And thank you so much for being in Back to the Clubs as an excellent guest. Thank you so much, Mr. Lady.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. It was my pleasure.
Interesting take on Berghain, wouldn't you say? Thank you, Mr. Lady. If you have a take yourself, don't hesitate to reach out on my socials, all at Official Major K. Don't forget to subscribe to Back to the Clubs in your podcast app, give it a raving rating as well, and go get your Back to the Clubs logo t-shirt on dancemusicmerch.com. That's dancemusicmerch.com. And support the show. By the way, we have some really great Christmas sweaters over there as well. You need to check them out. Next week, there's a new episode of Back to the Clubs. We're nearing the end, though, with only 3 more episodes this season left. So see you next time and enjoy the sunshine. Bye-bye.
Back to the Clubs with Major K.